Welcome to the Recovery Stories podcast, bringing you stories of hope, healing, and triumph over the bondage of addictions, mental health struggles, trauma, and dysfunctional family systems. Our courageous storytellers have chosen to live their journey out loud in order to show others that they don't have to suffer in silence. The stories you will hear are raw, real, and may involve graphic and triggering content. This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health's Rooted alumni community. If you or a loved one are struggling, have questions, or are ready to take the next step, call our admission center at 888-648-4098. Or visit us online at www.promisesbehavioralhealth.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.
Welcome to this episode of Rooted Recovery Stories. My name is Patrick Custer and I'm your host. I'm so glad to be here today with our special guest. She is a renowned super yacht captain with over 3 decades of international maritime experience and star of Bravo's hit TV series Below Deck Mediterranean. Welcome, Captain Sandy Yawn.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's absolutely an honor. Now, as we know, every June, Pride Month occurs in the United States to commemorate the Stonewall riots, which happened in the end of June in 1969 and sparked a liberation movement for equality, freedom, and justice. On this show, we're taking the entire month to highlight the positive impact some fellow members of the LGBTQ plus and recovery communities are having on the world today through visibility and advocacy. So as I mentioned to you before, you are absolutely one of those people for me. And so again, it's an honor to have you here representing.
Oh, thank you.
So, absolutely. So my first question, what does Pride mean for you?
You know, I have never been a person that walks in a parade. Thank God there are those people. For me, I had to come to terms with myself first. And then I was, proud to be with the woman that I'm with. But that took years of, diving into that, false thinking that I had to restructure my thinking where it resonated with my soul. So pride for me starts within. It's not about out and loud. It's about in and loud, if that makes sense. It isn't.
Absolutely.
So I can go out and say, yes, I love a woman and shout out to the world. But if I'm not okay with it internally, it's false.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it internally. So the pride comes from self-pride, if that makes sense. And
100.
Of course, I will do videos. I have no shame. So there's no more shame that I used to have because that's the way I was raised. So yes, I have that self-pride because I actually allow myself to love another woman.
I love that. You actually answered my next 2 questions. So what a beautiful answer. So I want to move from there and kind of go into your story of your life, where you are from and kind of what brought you to a place of needing to find recovery.
Oh, jails and institutions. So born and raised in Bradenton, Florida, alcoholism runs in my family and I got it. You know what I mean? It's a disease, as we all know. And my life of destruction happened at the very young age. Peer pressure was a big part of it. Once the drugs and alcohol were introduced, I was on that merry-go-round for years until I was 25. At the age of 17, I was arrested. Actually, before that, I had many arrests. Drinking and driving, disorderly conduct, no felonies, thankfully. And then it grew into where it was just no longer a juvenile. It was into the adulthood. And I was in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to many 12-step programs. And, I had a person say to me, Sandy, I wish this program was for people who needed it, but it's for people who want it. So bring back some of your white chips. We're running out. And that's basically how it was. At the age of 25, I was on the same merry-go-round. The difference was I still had a job, which was odd, and a place to live. Usually, the only reason I got clean was because I had nowhere to go and no money. This time, I had money, and a place to live. So I just wanted off. And I don't know, it was that psychic change. So I went into a halfway house. I was in and out of halfway houses, detoxes. I went back into this halfway house called Stepping Stones in Fort Lauderdale, begged
Yeah.
them to let me back in. They told me I wasn't worth the paperwork. And it was from there, I got a great sponsor and, just trying to keep doing the next right thing. And it's like a roller coaster sometimes,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of self-care and work. And I work the 12 steps. Do I do it always? No. Do I always, meeting makers make it? Do I always show up at meetings? Not always. Do I need one today? Absolutely. Will I
Yep.
go? For sure. Because the struggle is real. It isn't always easy. It's when
That's
these
right.
situations arise that I draw on that superpower, which is all the people around me.
Absolutely. So that kind of leads me to a couple follow-up questions. Did you know you wanted to work on the sea? Did work to be a
No,
captain?
I had to pay a bunch of fines. So
Sure.
I answered an ad in the paper and it was washing boats. Next thing you know, I did such a great job because I was sober and clean. And the guy offered me a job and then he sent me to school and it was wild. It's like sometimes you just have to show up and the miracle happens, right? By
Hmm.
doing the next right thing. And that's exactly what happened to me.
The
Of course,
promises
I
come
put the
true.
work in. Yeah,
Yeah.
promises. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that was going to be the answer. I mean, that's for so many of us, you get sober and that's
Yeah.
what happens. Life happens, but
Mhm.
that also happens. So, what I'm curious, as a captain in your line of business, you're correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the main parts of your job is foreseeing problems and handling issues that arise. Um, how is that something that was you were already good at, or was that a learned skill for you?
I learned by the 12 steps. Everything that
Mm,
people see on TV is everything I learned how to live a life. So I think I use those tools. That's what I love about recovery is like you get a toolkit that we're really lucky. If we
yeah.
can get sober and stay sober, we're offered tools that we can use in our interpersonal relationships and in our employment. And that's what I do. I pause. Sometimes I look at where my feet are. I take a breath. The chatter that goes on in your head isn't always true. I try to, rise to 30,000 feet and I use those tools in my management style. And that's really why I do so well is because I go back to the basics
Mm.
and that works.
It does. It absolutely does. So let me ask you, I know you've got a book coming up later this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's very exciting. So I don't know that if this is something that you're able to talk about, but I
Well,
think you
yes, of
might.
course. Yes, it's
Okay.
October 2nd or 4th. I have to look at the date. It's being launched. It's Hay House. I'm very excited. I never, that was never a dream of mine. It became a reality because of everything that's happened in my life. And basically, my story's in there. I talk about the past. I talk about how I got to where I am. And I give leadership tips and lessons on basically self-leadership because that's what we learn. We have to learn to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of others or lead others, no matter what, right? So just like on an
Yep.
airplane, put your oxygen mask on first. And that's what we learn, right? I love it because first we have to admit we can't do it alone. Secondly,
Mhm.
for us, we put down a drink or a drug and admit we can't do it by ourselves. We need help. Clean up that wreckage of the past. Find that, do that inventory where we delete the character, the shortcomings that really don't work for us, and we choose the ones that do, and we nurture those and we grow those through practices like doing the speed limit, building that character, restraint of pen and tongue or text and tongue in so many
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
Um, it's through those little things that we do, making amends and then continuing to help others that make us better human beings and we feel good about ourselves. It's like, that's the miracle. It's the work. The work is the blessing, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. It really is. Which is, it couldn't be more opposite from what on the other side, when we think about pre-sobriety, it doesn't, you would never predict that that would be what our answer would be today, right? Like a
Right.
total renewing of the mind changes that whole entire perspective. Um, I want to ask you about something that your website mentions that I had no idea about, that you were part of the fire and pirate threat that occurred in
I had a
2006
fire in the Red
off,
Sea.
yeah, off the
Yeah,
coast of Yemen.
correct. And
So, yeah,
yeah.
can you share about that?
Oh yeah, no, I had I was delivering a boat for a gentleman to Dubai, and along our journey, we had a fire in the Red Sea, and we weren't attacked by pirates. The threat of pirates were there.
Mm,
You definitely knew they were coming, and just through the training, were we able to put the fire out, because it's training. It's like you train your brain to rethink, but you
mm,
train physically to fight fires and things like that. And to me, it's always a training. I'm always in training. And that's why I
yeah,
talk about self leadership. We were rescued by a warship, you know,
yeah.
thank God. And it could have been a very different outcome. We could have been hostages. And that was always on my brain, but I just trusted God. I love God.
Hmm.
And I kept praying and kept doing the next right thing. And also what I was taught and trained to do. So
Hmm.
communication was key. And we made it out. I got, I spent 13 days in Hadida after we were rescued, trying to
Hmm.
get a tow out of there, but we had protection, which helped me sleep a little better. But it was a very volatile time for them. They were in a civil war at that time,
Hmm.
so very scary times. But at the same time, I never stopped working towards a solution until
Hmm.
we found one.
As a just regular person who doesn't go to all these places, and right, can't imagine what it's like living your life, hearing you talk about this, I'm just thinking, wow, that, like, how outlandish, how beyond my realm of perception, thinking about being in that situation could be. But, like, I can't help but think of the parallel of life and the unknowns, like you were mentioning before. We get sober and we're not promised that everything's going to be okay. We're promised that we're going to have tools that we can navigate a better way.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And just hearing you talk about how you clung to that, how it equipped you and made it possible for you to find, would you say, a peace within the storm?
Yes, the calm. Yeah, that's the name of the book. Be the calm or be the storm. So
Ah,
that's
I
the name
love
of my
that
book.
so much.
Right. Yes, because we have a choice. And I think, when you're trained, it automatically kicks in. Say you had CPR and someone falls
Hmm.
down and they can't breathe. That CPR training is going to kick in.
Hmm.
You have these muscle memories, and that's exactly what happened. You find out who
Hmm.
panics and who doesn't.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that if it wasn't for my sobriety and the tools that I've been given, I probably would have been very different in the way I handled things. I wasn't
Mm.
in panic mode. I was in calm mode, because I know that, and I think that's true for most people in recovery. It's when
Yeah.
it all goes crazy that we are the calmest,
Right.
because we're so used to chaos in our past
Mm.
lives that we can deal with that. And so that's like our superpower, one of them. It is for me anyway, and it's a pretty cool gift.
It is. It really, really is. So you definitely get to exercise this on your show a lot, Below Deck Mediterranean, which I believe the current season is airing right now. Is that right?
Well, not our season. It's coming soon.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh yeah, maybe
Uh,
maybe they do the reruns, but our next season hasn't aired yet.
Gotcha. Okay. And so Did you ever see yourself doing a TV show?
No,
Can you tell
not
us a
at
little
all.
snippet of how that came about?
Honestly, it landed in my lap. I had a motorcycle crash. I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. I had a
Wow.
breakup, and within that 3-month period, Below Deck came knocking on the door, and I was like, "That's odd." And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to see what it's like. So I didn't say no. I said yes, and followed. They had a choice to pick anybody. Why I was picked, I don't know, but I'm grateful. It's a
Yeah.
great platform. And I just want to help change some lives, give some tools to people to help them navigate their, storm and find the
Hmm.
calm. You know what I mean? That's not always
Yes.
easy. And even in my personal life, are you kidding me? What's the biggest challenge? Relationships and finance, finance and romance. Those are
Yep.
the two that are constantly challenge me. And that's what I have to constantly navigate.
Hmm.
And sometimes say, hey, I'm wrong. And sometimes just swallow it, even if you aren't wrong. If it makes it easier, just do that. It's worth it.
I was just having that conversation with a friend yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're running close on time here. I just wanted to kind of close up with you and ask for that person, that individual or people that are watching or listening, tuning in with us, that says, hey, I'm something that Sandy said is struck a chord with me. What bit of encouragement would you like to leave with our audience today?
If you're faced with a challenge, just don't react. Take a breath, look at where your feet are. Check yourself first and then respond. Don't react. Take those moments and breathe. And then if you need some advice, reach out to a friend. But
Yeah.
reaction is not the way. Responsive is, right? So that's what I want to say. So if you're faced with a challenge, take a breath, look at where your feet are, look back up, and then respond.
Beautiful. Couldn't agree more.
And just keep
Um,
doing the next right thing. The next right thing. Always.
that's right. That's right. Captain Sandy, is there anything else you have coming up that you want to share with us in your world?
Just the book launch in October.
Mhm.
Just go to my website if you want to reach out to me. It's captainsandyyawn.com, and you can send me an email. All the information's on my website. So obviously, social media, which is it's not
Yeah.
easy. Don't send me a message on social media. I have tens of thousands of messages. If you really want to reach me, go through my website.
Perfect. All
Yeah.
right, sounds good. And with that, I will remind everyone that it is never too late to start loving yourself, and you are only one decision away from a completely different life.
For more information on today's episode, check out the show notes. Recovery Stories is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health's rooted alumni community. If you or a loved one are struggling, have questions, or ready to take the next step, call our admission center at 888-648-4098. Or visit us online at www.promisesbehavioralhealth.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please share with your friends. Follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. We are grateful for you and hope that you have been encouraged by today's episode. As always, remember you are only one decision away from a completely different life, and it is never too late to start loving yourself.